Everyone, welcome to Witty Cooking. Today we are going to talk about puff pastry. So I had a friend recently contact me kind of wondering why her puff pastry always gets soggy. So I'm just going to start off by explaining a little bit about what puff pastry is and some things you can avoid so that that kind of thing doesn't happen. So basically puff pastry is when you get a pastry dough and you put pats of cold butter in between, and you're gonna roll it out into thin layers, and you just keep layering that butter in the pastry, and then it's gonna create a lot of little small layers within the dough. So then when you bake it, the moisture that's in the butter gets released and it steams, and that's going to make those layers all separate and puff up. So things you want to remember is that you want to remember to kind of treat your puff pastry dough like a pie dough. Because of all that butter in the dough, it does need to stay cold, or you can start running into problems where it gets too soft. Then when it bakes, it doesn't bake up right. So you also want to make sure that you bake it at a higher temperature, about 400 degrees, for that process to happen correctly when it's cooking. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started with the puff pastry today. We're going to make a pumpkin filled turnover, because it kind of just starts feeling like fall once August hits. So we'll go ahead and start on that. Okay, so as you'll see right here, I have just a regular store-bought puff pastry. You can buy this in your freezer section. And you'll just want to go ahead and thaw this overnight in your fridge, or you can also thaw this at room temperature for about 30 minutes. You need to make sure that it's thawed all the way, or otherwise when you start unfolding this, it will crack. You don't want it to crack. So we'll go ahead and get this guy unfolded. Okay, and it's at the perfect temperature. So then we're just gonna go ahead and roll it out just a little bit. We'll get a little bit of flour down here on the counter. Okay, and then you want to just flour your rolling pin. And we'll just get this a little bit thinner than it is. And try and keep it in that square shape, because we're going to cut squares out. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna trim off these edges a little bit because I didn't get it super square. And I'm using a pizza cutter right now. Typically you would use a pastry wheel, but mine is MIA, so I'm just using this pizza cutter. It works about the same, so it's not a problem at all. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna just cut some squares out. Okay, and you also want to make sure that you work kind of quickly. Like I said, with the temperature, you don't want this to get too warm. So we're going to go ahead and I'll just start with this one. We're going to put some filling in here. Now this is a pumpkin filling that I made, so the ingredients for this, you're going to do about a cup of pumpkin, half a cup of brown sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of cloves, 1 egg, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and a tablespoon of butter. So you just want to lay this down. We're going to fold this on the diagonal. So try and get the filling spread out just on this 1/2 right here. Okay, then we're going to take some egg wash. An egg wash is just, you get an egg, you water it down with a little bit of water, obviously, and you just whisk it up till it's all cohesive. Now we're going to just brush the edges here so that we can get them to seal closed. And we're going to go ahead and fold this over. Okay, so this one is a really great example at what you should not do. I filled it a little bit too close to my edge over here. So as you'll see, that is spilling out on the side. So that happens when you fill it too full, and you don't want that to happen when you bake it because it will explode everywhere and it does not look great. So I'll go ahead and fix this one later. I'm going to show you an example right now of how you should do that. Okay, so here's my second one. And just try and keep your dollop kind of on the center, a little bit to the side, just spread it out a little bit. Okay, going down with the egg wash along the sides. Okay, and we'll go ahead and fold it over. Okay, so there you go. So when you fold it, you want to not be able to see any of that filling coming out. Then you go ahead and you can just grab a fork and you'll just go ahead and press it down. Make sure that you get all of the pastry sealed. And that's it. So then we'll also go ahead and put a little bit of egg wash on top of it. This is going to give it a really good look when it comes out of the oven. So it'll make it shiny. It also helps it get a golden brown color. Okay, perfect. So that's all you have to do. You'll just do that with all of the rest of them. I'm going to go ahead and finish mine up, and then we'll get this in the 400-degree oven, usually about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I just went ahead and pulled my pumpkin turnovers out of the oven. They usually take about 15 to 20 minutes to bake at about 400 degrees, like we said. And as you'll see here, they should get a nice golden caramel color on them. You don't want the pastry to be pale colored. So it should get this nice golden color. And then it should puff up quite a bit. If you can see all of these layers in here, it should be puffed up quite a bit. And that's what your finished product should look like. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I have put together just a little cream cheese glaze to go with this delicious pumpkin flavor. Bring all those fall flavors in for you, right? So what I'd mixed was about 2 ounces of cream cheese, 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, and 2 tablespoons of milk, give or take. You want it to be a nice consistency that you can kind of drizzle it. So not too thin, not too thick. And I'm just going to go ahead and drizzle this on. And you just want to kind of get a little wrist action in here. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just get some nice glaze on. I like a lot of glaze on mine, so I'm going to do one more round here. There you go. See, that looks beautiful. Get these other ones. Okay, and that's it. So it's not that hard to make anything with puff pastry. You just need to remember a couple of simple rules with the dough. It can be a little bit finicky, but if you follow those rules, you should get a nice puffed up pastry every time.